What is going on, everybody? Got a quick video for you here. This is part 4 to my Stop Hoarding video series. This video is for all the new players and returning players to the division, in particular to all the guys who hit the bricks in 1.3 when the game was at its worst, and are now coming back to a game that's just as amazing as it is confusing. Welcome to the game, welcome to the community. In this video, we'll be covering weapon mods. Just like gear, weapon mods have major and minor attributes. For most weapon mods, it's usually one major and two minors. These major attributes are static from weapon mod to weapon mod and roll with high values. The minor attributes are random and roll with much lower values. These stats are percentage based and have their own max values. I'll be sure to link a well-known community resource in the description below for the purpose of quick reference. Since all weapon mods have static major attributes, let's quickly go through what these attributes are. Weapon mods roll with accuracy, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, headshot damage, optimal range, reload speed, and stability. These attributes can be separated into increased damage output, increased weapon handling, and increased weapon utility. These attributes are static and only roll on certain weapon mods. This means a small grip will always roll with critical hit damage as its major attribute. The minor attributes on weapon mods are similar to the major attributes, but they simply roll in reduced percentages. This means a weapon mod can roll with 3 attributes that boost your weapon's damage output, as well as 3 attributes that increase your weapon's damage output, handling, and utility. Without a doubt, the best weapon mods will always be the mods that increase your weapon's damage output. But this all depends upon your build and your playstyle. Now, before we go any further, let's solidify one commonly known fact. The DPS meter is broken. Please don't run to the comment section to argue this. It's broken, and it's been broken since forever. 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 So if you're using the DPS meter to determine what mods you should be equipping on your weapon, you're being misinformed by what you see on the screen. That is because weapon mods that increase headshot damage, accuracy, and reload speed will always show an increase to your DPS. But since the DPS meter is broken as all outdoors, we do not look at the DPS meter when choosing which mods to equip on our weapon. This is because the mods that actually increase your weapon's damage output and handling are often the mods that lower your on-screen DPS. This means weapon mods that roll with headshot damage, accuracy, and reload speed as a major attribute are often mods you need to use only when you know why you are using them, and not because they magically make the numbers on the DPS meter go up. So if the DPS meter is broken, how do we see what weapon mods increase our damage output and handling? We refer to the stat sheet. The character stat sheet contains everything you need to know about your build, as well as the weapon you are currently holding. This is where all your stats from your build and your weapon come together to highlight how truly powerful you are. Everything about your build is listed in the stat sheet. From your damage output to your overall survivability, it's all listed in the stat sheet. And this brings us to our next topic, crit. In this game, crit is universal. I'm sure you've all heard of crit and have asked yourself, what the hell is crit? Crit refers to 2 stats, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. In simple terms, your critical hit chance determines how often you benefit from your critical hit damage. This means how often you are inflicting the maximum amount of damage on your opponent. Sure, you can just empty your weapon over and over again until whatever you are shooting at eventually dies. But crit allows us to do this in a more effective manner. This game is an RPG, and NPCs as well as players have established health pools. This is why when you are shooting at an opponent, you see numbers popping up. These numbers represent the damage you are inflicting on that target. White numbers represent normal damage. Blue numbers represent damage inflicted to their armor. Blue numbers are generally seen only on NPCs with high health pools. Red numbers represent damage inflicted to the head, and orange numbers represent critical hits. And it's the critical hits that rip through your target's established health pool. In short, crit makes you a more effective killer. We talked about enemy armor damage and damage to elites being the best stats in PvE. This is quite true, but enemy armor damage and damage to elites are not stats that roll on weapon mods. So this means when it comes to modding your weapon for both PvE and PvP, crit is universal. Once again, your critical hit chance determines how often you benefit from your critical hit damage. Crit chance is hard capped at 60%, therefore anything beyond 60% is waste. Critical hit damage, on the other hand, does not have a hard cap. So logically, you want to get to as close to 60% as possible and put the rest into critical hit damage. Even without trying, most builds have around 20 to 40% critical hit chance. At the same time, those builds have around 80 to 120% critical hit damage. Under the right conditions and with the right buffs, you can achieve upwards of 200% critical hit damage. And that means you're killing quite effectively. Healers and tech builds would tend to fall on the lower end of this spectrum, while damage builds will fall on the higher end. That is because critical hit chance and critical hit damage are both in the category of increased damage output, along with headshot damage. Now let's pause for a quick second in regards to headshot damage. Unless you are actively aiming for headshots, modding your weapon for headshot damage is completely counterproductive. Modding for headshot damage should be a conscious decision. In the same way, aiming for headshots is a conscious decision. The same can be said for modding for stability, accuracy, and reload speed. You are purposely choosing to use these stats because of how they benefit your overall playstyle and not because of what you see on the DPS meter. And that brings us to our next topic, weapon modding. All weapons in the game generally have 5 mod slots. These mod slots are the weapon skin, the optics, the muzzle, the underbarrel, and the magazine. In this video, we will not be talking about weapon skins. So let's begin with the optics. Since crit is universal, any mod that increases our critical hit chance and our critical hit damage is a keeper. This means the optic mods you want to keep are the Pro Red Dot sight, the Rugged Mini Reflex sight, the Reflex sight, the C79 scope, the 552 Hollow scope, and the VX1 scope. These are the mods that increase your weapon's damage output by way of critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and headshot damage. You also want to consider the small RDS scope, the CQBBS scope, and both the MK4 and MK5 scopes. These mods improve the handling and utility on your weapon by way of stability and optimal range. Everything else is trash. This includes anything in the optics category with the suffix tan. The tan optic variants roll with highly reduced major attributes in comparison to their standard counterparts. Therefore, all tan optic mods are trash. For the muzzle, the mods you want to keep are the loud vent brake, the T-Rant suppressor, both the small and large suppressors, the SR7 suppressor, and both variants of the Omega rifle suppressor. This is the only tan variant true to its stat roll. These are the mods that increase your weapon's damage output by way of critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and headshot damage. You want to also consider the compensator and the muzzle brake. These mods improve the handling on your weapon by way of stability. Everything else is trash. For the underbarrel, the mods you want to keep are the small and short grips. These mods increase your weapon damage output by way of critical hit damage. You also want to consider the angle grip and the hand stop. These mods improve the handling and utility of your weapon by way of stability and reload speed. Everything else is trash. And for the magazine, the mods you want to keep are the extended mag without a doubt and the high velocity mag. These are the mods that increase your weapon's damage output and utility by way of magazine size, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and rate of fire. You also want to consider the quick release mag. This mod improves the utility on your weapon by way of reload speed. This mod is particularly good with shotguns. Everything else is trash. In short, any mod that rolls with accuracy or optimal range as its major attribute or has the suffix tan is trash. The only exception to this rule are the MK4 and the MK5 marksman rifle scopes, as well as the Omega rifle suppressor tan. The scopes are for those that like to snipe at long distances, and this is the only tan variant that rolls with true values. Everything else is trash. Don't waste your time, it's trash. Sifting through weapon mods is complicated enough. Don't overcomplicate the process by holding on to subpar weapon mods. So let's review. You're running through the DZ, the LZ, whatever, killing shit, and before you know it, your bag is full of weapon mods. You look and you have 12 weapon mods, 6 for the muzzle and 6 for the underbarrel. Starting with the muzzle, you have a flash hider, a muzzle brake, a loud vent brake, an off-spray suppressor, a T-Rat suppressor, and a flash hider. First off, any mods that increase our damage output are initial keepers. This means the loud vent brake and the T-Rat suppressor. And since the muzzle brake improves weapon handling, we will hold on to that too. Both the flash hider and the off spray are accuracy mods, and they do nothing more than reduce the spread of your reticle. Choosing these mods over a damage boost or better weapon handling is ultimately a bad decision. So these mods are trash. From here, let's inspect the minor attributes on the mods we did keep. The loud vent brake always rolls with critical hit damage as its major, and its minor attributes are critical hit chance and optimal range. The T-Rat always rolls with critical hit chance as its major, and its minors are critical hit damage and headshot damage. And the muzzle brake will always roll with stability, and it has critical hit chance and critical hit damage. All these mods look good at face value, so we would check to see how close they are to their max rolls. The ones with the lowest rolls are trash. So let's do this again with the underbarrels. The mods you have are an angle grip, a vertical grip, a small grip, a hand stop, another small grip, and a laser pointer. Once again, any mods that increase our damage output are initial keepers. This means both of the small grips. Since the angle grip improves weapon handling, we will also hold on to that. And the hand stop increases reload speed, we will hold on to that one too. This means the vertical grip and the laser pointer are both trash. From here, we inspect the minor attributes on the mods we did keep. Both small grips roll with critical hit damage. One rolled with reload speed and optimal range. The other one rolled with stability and optimal range. The hand stop comes with reload speed and has critical hit damage and optimal range as its minors. From here, we would look at the percentage values on these mods to see how close they are to max rolls. I'll be sure to link a well-known community resource in the description below for the purpose of quick reference. But simply put, anything that isn't close to max value is trash. Low-rolled weapon mods simply aren't worth your time and stash space. And that brings us to our final topic, crafting. Some of the best weapon mods I have come from crafting. As long as you have the time, the blueprints, and the resources, you will have the God-rolled weapon mods to match. Just remember to keep an eye on the blueprint vendor reset each week and keep plenty of crafting resources. Also, don't forget to scour the vendors for God-rolled weapon mods. And as always, compare the stats on your mods and remove the lesser mods from your stash and from your inventory whenever you can. It's a tedious task, but this step would lead to less clutter in your stash and in your inventory. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. Take care, everybody.